And if not, that's okay. I have a lot of notes, so we'll wait about 1 more minute because I see more people joining in. But if anyone is interested in taking minutes, just please let me know.
I can do it, Marcus, if no one else.
Thank you, EJ. I appreciate that. Thank you. And you have the agenda. It's on the calendar, so you can just fill in the minutes from that. I promise it will not be a long meeting. I don't want long meetings. We get in, we get out. Quick and efficient. All right, we are going to start the recording. So this is being recorded, so we can send this link out to everybody who is not able to make it or they're on vacation. We are so happy everyone is here, and thank you for taking the next 45 minutes, hour out of your daily schedule to be here. My name is Marcus Silver. I'm currently the chair for the Akuawai Programming Committee. I am very excited to be leading this amazing team, and you are all part of the Programming Committee. You play an important part in this committee, and we're very excited to have you and planning for Portland. The purpose of this meeting is to ensure an opportunity to get people engaged. There's going to be some people who are not able to attend Portland, and this is just to keep people involved, let people know what's going on with the committee, and to keep people informed and in the loop and involved. And that's the important part of being on this committee. You have many ways and opportunities to be involved in the association and the programming committee. Everyone does have a copy of the agenda, so you can follow along. I split up the agenda so some of my committee members can take part in the agenda and telling you a little about who they are and their role. And we're very excited to give the floor to Melissa McDonald. And I'll let her introduce herself, maybe say what school you're from. I apologize for not, if I have not had the pleasure of meeting you yet. I am from University of Central Florida, and I currently serve as a chair for the Portland Conference.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Melissa McDonald. I actually work at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And I am the, what we call the admin this year, part of the leadership team for the program committee, which basically means that I'm going to be the person that you're hearing from in terms of reviewing programs as we prepare and then really moderating as we get closer to the conference. So there's a couple things on here related to call for programs that Marcus asked me to sort of touch on. So you're probably already aware that from Akuawai, all the emails and things that they send us, that the call for programs is open. And proposals are being accepted anytime between now and the deadline, which is Tuesday, December 3rd this year. So a couple things to note about that, to be able to present, and this is for you to let your colleagues know too, you have to be planning to attend the conference, hopefully, taking place in Portland. And this year the conference is the 27th of June to the 30th, 2020. And the other thing to know about the call is that the conference registration is going to open in January and presenters are notified of their program status in February. So as folks propose, they'll find out in February and then they can go ahead and register if they haven't already done so. In terms of goals for the program proposal process, as we do every year, we're looking for really just a wide variety of different types of programs. The proposal mentions new issues, emerging issues, persistent issues in housing, residential life. We're really trying to get a slate of programs together that is going to cover a multiplicity of different core competency areas for Akuawai, and that are of interest to conference attendees that are at all different places in their careers in terms of number of years of experience and areas that they work, in housing and residential life. I will mention that there are 2 different new pilot programs this year that if individuals are proposing, they can indicate interest in participating in these. One is based on a recent review that Akuawai had with a consultant and our membership sharing that there was a lot of benefits being able to participate in programs to help them learn. So one of those new programs types is focused on active learning. And that has a focus on audience participation, and individuals who want to participate in that, they can just check off a box and say, I want to participate, and they will basically have the opportunity to participate in a 1-hour speaker training webinar and then 75 minutes to present. So they have a little bit more time to present. And then also the other new style of programming is sort of what we're calling threaded programming. So we're going to have basically 2 to 3 consecutive presentations. And the idea is to have those attended by like a cohort audience that remains constant throughout each of those programs. So we're hoping to sort of thread programs together that have similar themes, and then create a time and space for the audience, attending those programs to really get into the breadth of that topic and then the depth of the topic. So those are 2 of the new program types. And so if you're proposing, or if you're, talking about proposing to others, they can certainly check those boxes for interest. I'll say this too, if you're the person taking the minutes, I can certainly send you some of my notes that I'm talking from here, because yeah, I'm saying a lot. The question really here, I think, might be, how can you all help as members of the program committee? So for one thing, social media and helping us get the word out. Akuho'ai obviously has some plans to advertise, put the programs out there, the program proposal process out there, but you can help us by sharing information about the process. There's basics on the website and in Akuho'ai emails about the program proposal process. I can also put a link out in the chat here to a website. Drop this out here, that's helpful. One of the other ways we want to advertise is through social media. So one of the things that we did last year that was fairly successful, or seemed to be, was we had a series of sort of memes developed that were focused on how do we focused on asking folks to participate in program proposals, and to actually propose something. So if you are in this group and you have any interest in potentially helping with sort of developing some memes that we can then share with everybody, and then they can put them out there on, all of their different social media sites, from Instagram to Facebook to Twitter. If you're interested in that, please you can send a message to me down through the chat or to Marcus, and we will reach out to you and see if we can get some things created that we can then share, so we can get the word out there via social media in kind of a more interesting way. I'll also mention, if you are attending any upcoming regional conferences, any institutes or workshops that are going to occur before the proposal deadline, where there might be attendees who are interested in proposing, just definitely please take the opportunity to share information about how to propose in those spaces. That would be great. I'll also mention, and on the website I just sent out to everyone, there is a link to a webinar that Laurie and I, Laurie's from Akuho'ai, she'll be speaking here in a moment. We did a webinar to provide information about the proposal process, and there was tips for submitting and information about who our conference attendees are and things like that. So that's actually, there's a link on that website that's available. So if folks want to view that, they can. There's also a really good assistance guide out there, and as well as the link to submit and a bunch of other information on that webpage. So feel free to check that out. The last thing I'll mention is that I think almost everyone who expressed interest in being on the program committee this year also said they were interested in reviewing proposals, and we definitely can use everybody's help. By the end of the week, you should look for an email from me with a link to a form where you can share your preferences in terms of the types of proposals you would like to review. If you don't have preferences, if you're open to reviewing anything, totally fine. We can definitely work with that as well. And we'll keep you on the list of reviewers either way, and we will assign you to be working with a review coordinator through the review process. I will mention that this year there's a pretty short timeline to review it. It's a little shorter than in the past. So if you did indicate interest in reviewing and are planning to do so again this year, we really ask that you block between December 6th and December 16th. And that is 10 days, including the weekends, where the program review process is really going to be taking place. So you'll get more details. Your review coordinators will reach out to you. You'll be assigned to a particular area to review. But if you could go ahead and start to block those times now, that would be super helpful. So we know we have you on board, and we can get all the proposals reviewed. So that's all I have. And I will turn it over to Laurie.
Thank you, Melissa.
Hi, everyone. So I think most of the names and faces are pretty familiar to me, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself anyway. So my name is Laurie Sebata. I am the, well, let's see, I keep want to say liaison, but now it's professional staff leader at Akuho'ai to the program committee for the annual conference. So this is, I think this is my 10th year of doing this. So, you know, it's been a little while, but so I'm really excited to go to Portland. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about the Presenter Resource Center. So some of you may be familiar with this, some may not be. I think this is about our third year of doing it. And basically what it is, it's our version of, it's a portal, basically. And just to clarify, this is not where you would be going to review programs. This is where people who have submitted programs can go and look at their submitted programs and view the status of that program. And in early February, we open up the portal or the Presenter Resource Center and make that available for people to go ahead and log in, and they can find out if their programs were selected to be accepted, or whether they're alternates, or whether they're were not selected. So it's a pretty big improvement over the process we used to have, where we would just email everybody and half the people would get them and half of them wouldn't. And people seem to really like it, and it's kind of evolved, I guess, over the past couple of years as a little bit more of a resource type center too, where we, you know, provide space for folks to be able to upload their PowerPoints so that they can have a mobile app and things like that. So we're really, you know, it's evolving as we move along, but I wanted to make you, and I was going to go ahead and show it a little bit, if that's okay. That doesn't take up too much time. I was going to go ahead and share my screen and just kind of walk you through, like, because some of you also, again, just clarify, this is not where you're going to review programs, but if you submitted a program, this is where you would go to sort of track the progress of it and see just sort of general knowledge, so you know what, you know, people are experiencing when they're submitting programs. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, hopefully. Yes, here we go. Okay, I'm not sure if I did that right, but you should be seeing the Akuwai homepage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, so to find the Presenter Resource Center, you would basically go from the homepage to the Akuwai Conference and Expo link. And this is the landing page, if you're not familiar with, you know, the page that houses our conference, where we have all of the information about the conference, not just programming, but hotels and the agenda and everything that's going on, that's going to be going on in Portland. And then there's a link here called Call for Programs. And just to point out too, as long as we're here, this is a really good resource page. Again, if you're, you know, trying to help, you know, promote programs and get people to submit, this is a really good place to point people to. Say, hey, if you got questions, a lot of your questions are going to be answered on this page. We have it sort of chunked out into different areas here, and then there's an FAQ section at the bottom. And this area in this box up here to the right has a number of sort of, you know, sort of key milestone dates to pay attention to, and some links. I know in the past that when folks have, you know, submitted a program sometimes and they save it as a draft, they have trouble finding it. So we put a link to that. And then here's the link for the Presenter Service Center. And if you click on it, I'm already logged in. So it should take me right to the Presenter Service Center. And this is, it's pretty simple. This is the basic portal. And of course, I don't have anything for 2020 yet. So it's just showing me the 2019 programs. And it shows me the programs that I have here, and I would go in and view them. If I had 2020 programs, a countdown shows up and says, you know, it's not available, or here's your programs, but the status is not available yet. Here's a countdown. So, so here's where they would go and they would find out, you know, of these programs, okay, this one got confirmed, and then they would be asked to, you know, accept the program. They go in and they have to click off some buttons to accept the program. So I agree to the following, like I'm going to use the microphone and I'm going to do all these different things. I'm going to upload my presentation, and then they confirm their acceptance of the program, all in this portal. So it's really a big improvement. And then we also provide evaluation data for the programs here as well. So not only do we provide evaluation data for what you as the reviewers might have said about the program when we reviewed it. So that's a good thing to keep in mind, because when you're reviewing programs, you know, what you're saying, people are going to read that. So it's something to think about. And then the other type of feedback we provide then is actually when the program was actually presented at the conference, what did the attendees say about the program? So it's a really good resource area for lots of things. And eventually you would go here as well, a button would show up and it would say upload your presentation. You would upload your PowerPoint or PDFs or what do you have? Wherever you have, you can do it all in this one spot. So that's basically it. We just wanted to make you aware of it. Were there any questions about the Presenter Resource Center?
Thank you, Laurie.
Okay.
All right, moving along with our agenda, we're under other committee involvement on how you can be involved with our committee. I'd like to give the floor to Christine Thorson from Texas A&M University.
Howdy everyone. Like Marcus said, my name's Christine Thorcell and I'm at Texas A&M University. This is my 9th year on the program committee. I spent 3 years as a reviewer and now have been on this core leadership team for 6 years with a 1-year hiatus in there somewhere. And so this year I'll be serving as a review coordinator and also spearheading the case study competition, which you should be somewhat familiar with, but it is an opportunity for new professionals to showcase their skills and their problem solving based on a case study. And there will be a subgroup that I'm working with. I will be provided a list of those who have indicated an interest in working on the case study, and then that group collectively will come up with the case study. Or it may be spearheaded by a few volunteers, and then we work on tweaking that. And then I have a schedule of steps along the way where I'm working with Laurie in terms of advertising, getting that information out, helping to recruit our judges, etc. And so if you have volunteered for that, you should be hearing from me in the weeks ahead. And Laurie and Melissa, if there is information in my email, I'm just back after 6 or 7 days out of the office, so I'm still digging my way out from email, but I will get to it eventually.
Thank you, Christine.
Sure.
Melissa, would you like to speak about moderators?
So another area that a lot of you are probably aware of if you've been on the program committee in the past or attended is that we do definitely need assistance at the actual conference on moderating programs. So I don't have a lot to say about this at this point because, you know, the conference is June. So we'll be back in touch in April and May to sort of reach out to ask for volunteers to moderate, to give you the opportunity to sign up for some of the programs that you might attend anyway, and then hopefully serve in that moderator role there, just as sort of a go-between for the presenter to help them out with any issues that they have in the room, as well as help us with the process of collecting evaluations for the programs, which is super important because we do gather some really valuable data that helps sort of guide our processes as we go forward for the committee.
Thank you, Melissa. You also see the publicity team on your agenda. What that is just helping, once we compile the memes, it's putting it on the Twitters, Instagrams, the Facebooks, social media blast, letting your colleagues know, letting them spread the news. If you're interested in being involved right now, our program proposals close on December 3rd. So right now we wouldn't need anybody after December 3rd. It's just from now till December 3rd marketing it. If for whatever reason we needed it for moderators, we could do the same thing, do a marketing blitz. If you're interested in serving in that capacity, feel free to email me or send me a message through the group chat. And we would love to have you on our publicity team. Any questions in regards to committee involvement and so forth? Fantastic. So a little about our communication. This is something that Christine Wingate started last year in having these meetings. I think they were a wonderful idea. It gets people involved, especially if you're not able to participate at the annual conference. So right now we're holding at the end of October. Our next one's going to be held to be determined in February. I'm not sure of the exact date yet. As soon as I have that, I'll send that out along with a calendar invite. But we'll be having this type of meeting once again in February to tell you a little more about the conference and an update from our mid-year meeting, and also talking about Columbus as well, which we're very excited about. I will be starting to send out monthly emails to everybody starting in November. As soon as I start to draft that up, I'll compile some important information, and you'll start to get those emails once a month to keep you updated in regards to Portland. If this is your first time serving on the programming committee, we're really excited to have you, and thank you for being involved. You're going to hear a lot of terminology that you will hear in emails and meetings and so forth. So the first one you'll hear is ACE. ACE stands for the Association of College University Housing Officers Exposition. So that is the ACE conference. That is our annual conference, and you'll hear that a lot. CFP is our call for programs. And our CLT is our core leadership team. Those are acronyms that you're going to hear frequently throughout the year. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know. Stewart, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Did you want me to speak a little bit about speakers now or just on that part?
Oh, I thought you had something to say. I apologize. You were leaning closer to the
No,
screen.
I saw what Nathan was writing to the group and I was getting ready to type something in there for him. So sorry.
You're good. How about
just so the group knows, I'll introduce myself in a second, but I tend to be the person that people have to help out to not mess things up. So that is my role. I've served appropriately.
And Stewart is also going to be serving as our chair-elect, a very important role. He is there to be there by my side to help me out, and he's doing a phenomenal job. Stewart, would you be able to provide an update on speakers? And after that, I'll start going over some important dates for the committee.
Yes, of course. And before I do that, let me just answer Nathan's question. Thanks for posing it to the group. No problems out being late. We always encourage people, if you can drop by for part of this meeting, for some of it, late or early. What we really want to do is try to continue to get others involved and also have it to where you really see how you're contributing to the conference. Because again, this conference is about the membership, and the program committee is a huge part of this conference. Has always been since its inception over 75 years ago, which is really, really exciting. So as far as tentative schedule, that lists when the pre-conferences will be held. Nathan, I think you're talking about the pre-conference workshops. We are still working on those right now, identifying those. Basically, there's two ways that happens. We have some people that kind of submit program proposals where they want them to be pre-conferences, and we accept them that way. The second way that happens is sometimes we also invite some of their pre-conferences also, but it usually happens the day before. Did I miss anything with that, Marcus? Awesome. So again, my name's Stewart Robinette. I'm at the George Washington University. I've been on the CLT, since we're using the words right now, for about 4 years. And I was a program reviewer for about 5 years. And in fact, I was a program reviewer 1 year for my institution. Was not a member of a COI, but I snuck in anyhow. Don't tell anyone. Oh, this is recording. Never mind. So let's talk about speakers really quick. And I'm really excited to say that we are kind of continuing kind of the past 2 years of the way that we've done speakers to where we're having 3 different speakers. And the way that we do this, we have one speaker opening night, as always. We have another speaker the next day, and then we close it with a sprint session. And the way that we choose speakers is we've kind of shifted over the years. But what we're getting more into is kind of what more of our professional conferences do, to where the speakers are kind of themed out to be part of what's going on in the conference. So following that theme. So you heard Melissa talk a lot about threading programs. We want the same thing to happen with the speakers. We want the speakers not only to be dynamic and motivational and really speak to our membership, but we also want the speakers to be a person or persons that are able to create a type of dialogue among members during the conference and continue that. One thing that we've also learned from the past too is that when we have our speakers, we want to give certain breakout sessions. So if the conversation should continue or needs to continue, that there's space for that to continue too. So that's something that we're looking at. I always have to be really careful about who our speakers are or could be, because a COI and also the program committee likes to kind of build it up so that it can be a little bit of reveal to generate enthusiasm about signing up for the conference. So I'm not going to be able to share who the speakers are right now.
It's actually on the COI website.
Oh, the one is already on there?
Yep.
So David Mead is already on there then, which is exciting. The second one is one that I don't think is on there right now. Correct, Marcus?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so we have a second person who we are close to getting under contract, but we're trying to make sure that there's not some clauses that may cause some problems with it. And so that's why that person is not being revealed right now. But we are very excited about David Mead. For those of you that don't know him, he's part of Know Your Why, part of the group with Simon Sinek. And so he should be one of those people that really not only speaks to our profession and generates that type of conversation, but it's someone that we've heard a lot from members wanting to hear, knowing why. And we know that we talk not only with our students, but also with our profession about knowing our why when we do things. So we think that person can be very dynamic. The other thing that's really neat about speakers too for this group is that we not only think about what's coming up in our next conference, but we're usually looking about 2 years ahead. And this is simply to be kind of a good steward of the conference, right, and of our association, because if we can get people before the prices that starting to go up, that helps us in controlling costs and being able to get the best speakers that we can. So we'll be doing the 2 speakers this year. We'll also be doing the 2 speakers next year. And then the sprint session is something that we are continuing. This is
really weird.
I think somebody may need to mute because somebody's coming in right now. Were y'all hearing that? Okay, perfect. We're also going to be continuing the sprint session 2. And this is something where we really try to get around 5 to 7 members of the association who really encapsulate what it means to be a member. And our whole thought behind it is that we want people out there in the audience to be able to look up at those members that are speaking and see themselves as somebody that could be up there like them. And we've got a lot of positive feedback from the past about having members do this type of a sprint session. And so we're going to be continuing this year also. And so we're excited to really think about who those members are going to be and bring that together.
Thank you, Stewart. And to close out our agenda on what we have, I'm going to go over some important dates. So what's coming up is Monday, December 2nd through the 4th. This is right after Thanksgiving weekend. Myself, Stewart, Melissa, and Laurie and I are going to be heading to Portland for a few days to see the site, take pictures of distance. We're going to share those with everybody to get an idea of the programming room, the moderator room, just to get an overall view of what the conference will look like. We're really excited about that, and we'll be sure to share pictures, updates at our February meeting that we have, similar to this. Call for programs is currently open, and they're going to close while we're in Portland. They close on December 3rd, so please make sure you let your colleagues know. And if you're interested in being on that publicity and marketing team, please send me an email. I'm going to have Laurie talk about round 1 and round 2 and what that process looks like.
Sure. So round 1 and round 2 refer to the review process for all of the programs. So once we close the call for programs, and hopefully we have hundreds and hundreds of programs to review, we go through a pretty robust review process. It's an online process. We are going to have some webinars also for training. If you are a reviewer or a review coordinator, there's a training for each of those. And I think that even if you have done it before, it's a good idea to attend the webinar because there could be some things that change in the interim. So I don't have those dates actually in front of me right now, but I can get my hands on them pretty quickly. But anyway, so round 1 refers to the initial review process. That's where we have, the size of our committee. Reviewing those is about 60 or so people that are broken up into different groups or buckets, as we call them. And what you'll do is you'll log in online, you'll have the programs that are assigned to you, and you'll basically go through a process where you read all of the programs that are assigned to you. There's specific scoring criteria that you'll use to judge and score them. And then you'll basically just wash, rinse, and repeat that process until you review all of the programs in your bucket. And so round 1 starts on December 6th and goes through December 16th. And as Melissa mentioned earlier, that is a pretty short window of time, considering that some of you could have, 70 or more programs in your area to review. So I think that setting aside some time on your calendar now for that, it was going to be a really good idea. Round 2 is basically after the reviewers do their work in round 1, the review coordinators, or basically the leader for each of those areas or buckets, goes in and looks at what the reviewers have done, and then they're given a specific amount of programs to pick from that, and they go ahead and make selections saying we're going to accept these many, this many is going to be alternates, and these are going to be the ones that aren't selected. So it's a round 2. And really, honestly, there's a round 3 that happens later. It's really reviewed a third time when we all get together face-to-face in January and really approve that final slate of programs. So it's pretty robust, intense process that this goes through. And I didn't mention the dates for round 2. It goes from December 18th through the 30th. It's a little longer, but there's a holiday in there. There's that whole week for most of us are going to be either away or campuses will be shut down. So that's something to plan for as well. So are there any questions about round 1 and round 2? Did I miss anything critical?
I also want to give a shout out to Laurie. She does a tremendous amount of work for ACUI and this committee. We cannot do what we do without Laurie. I've worked with Laurie for a number of years, and she plays such a huge role for this committee. And we are truly thankful for what she does and what she provides for all of us. So thank you, Laurie, for what you're doing.
Thanks.
January 13th through the 14th, Stewart will be representing our committee in Columbus, Ohio, to be attending the Volunteer Summit. And what that Volunteer Summit is, it's actually planning for Columbus. And it's crazy to think, why are we planning for Columbus already where we haven't even tackled Portland? That's going to be a very large conference. It's our 75th anniversary. It's in Columbus. So we want to get a leg up. And it's not just Stewart. It's also our local arrangements chair. It's our Stars College representative. It's a lot of people who are serving as chair roles for ACUI, and they'll be in Columbus for 2 days. At the conclusion of the Volunteer Summit, the programming committee, the core leadership team will fly to Columbus and we'll start slotting all the different programs, finalizing our speakers for 3 days. That's January 15th through the 17th. So we're really excited about that. We're really excited that you are here taking the time out of your Wednesday schedule. It is almost Friday, and it's almost Halloween. So I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween if you celebrate. We hope you enjoy your time. And if anyone has any questions at this time, anyone have any questions?
Yeah, a quick question. I just want to make sure I got the dates right. For the PreCon, and Laurie, you may know this, is the PreCon on the 27th or is it PreCon on Friday, June 26th? The
PreCon would be on the Saturday. So I'm just scrolling through my calendar here. So it's Saturday, June 27th.
Okay.
And there's 2 sets of PreCons. Generally, there's a morning and afternoon session. So the morning one goes from 9 to 12, and the afternoon PreCon goes from 1 to 4.
Okay. Yep, just want to answer that for everybody. I had a private conversation with somebody on here, and I wanted to just get that out to everybody. Thank you.
Besides that, any other questions?
Marcus, I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
I know this is something that's come up with the content conferences before the 2, but is there any thought of like online evaluations or like electronic evaluations?
Good question. Laurie.
Do you mean the participant ones? So when you're at the conference, instead of filling out the little Scantron thing with all the little, yes, that is a topic of conversation. And I feel like we may get some traction on that now. So I'd like to try it again. We tried it in the past and we didn't get the response rate we wanted, but I can test that we didn't do it right. So we should try it again. So that you may see that being tested.
Thank you, Laurie. Laurie, do you have any idea of what conference dates for Columbus and after, or if they have any ideas of locations?
I do actually, and I think if I just go back to the website here, if I go back to the main page, I'm just going to show my screen because it might be easier to just do that. So here, future conferences. Can you see this?
Yep, I got that. Do we have anything after this yet?
No.
Okay.
No, this is as far out as we go.
Okay.
But soon, I would think. I mean, I know it's being talked about. It's a topic of conversation. I've heard some different things thrown out there. So pretty soon, I would imagine we'll know.
Fantastic. Any other questions at this time? If you have colleagues that want to get involved with the programming committee, please let Melissa or I know, and we can add them to the list so they can receive these emails. We'll also be sending this video link out to everyone. So if you have any colleagues that wanted to participate, but they had previously scheduled meetings, we'll be able to get that information out to everybody. Well, thank you everybody for what you're doing, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.